Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. So, I think we've made some progress on this charging situation. So the problem earlier was that once the battery voltage got to about 387, the Brusa was stopping charge and throwing a fault error. Then the code was a SDT, battery high voltage something or other, not STD. Now, if it was STD, we'd have to take a different approach, and I'm not sure the computer would help, and I'm not sure anything would help. Anyway, SDT, high voltage, something or other. And one forum that I read said to change your nominal voltage, or at least that's what I thought it said. Then I found another one this morning that was saying to change this one down here, battery voltage is above. This is a switch off immediately if. So when I read this, I wanted to set this at 400 volts. So if for some reason the voltage that I had set here, it for whatever reason went past that, if it got to 400 volts, it would stop. Well, apparently this needs to be set higher because the circuitry in the charger watches the voltage, and I guess it watches it sort of a fast voltage. And earlier I pointed out that the amperage that the charger charging in fluctuates quite a lot. And I think what's going on there is whenever the Brusa takes the charge off, it looks and sees what the voltage is, sort of not exactly a resting voltage, but a lower voltage than when it's charging full power. Then it goes and charges full power, watches where it spikes to, and then just kind of cycles that. And maybe it takes an average, and that's how it comes up with your voltage down here to stop the charge. I'm not exactly sure. I'm just throwing shit out in the air, but it doesn't matter. You got to turn this voltage up because that voltage going up and down and is not particularly accurate. So you got to turn this number up. So I got this number up to 425, which is kind of scary because if the voltage ever got to 425, I'm going to have a fire on my hands probably, if at worst, and damaged cells at second worst. So anyway, so you crank that up and then it charges great. And I had this number set at 393.6 because that's where I wanted it to stop charging. And there are several sections here. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. There's actually 7 sections. And then there's a little section down here that says proceed to the next section if. I don't know. I'm going to do some more digging on that. I think this is where if the charge voltage gets to this one, then it'll go to the second section. But it seems to be, well, anyway. So I had this at 393 with no other sections. So I was hoping that it would just get to 393.6 and stop. Well, it didn't. It got to like 394, and by that time, my BMS was monitoring and balancing the cells, and the top cell got above 4.1, and it did a charge fault, so it stopped the charge on its own. Now, actually, it didn't. I don't have a secondary means for the BMS to stop charging if something goes wrong, which is kind of dumb. Yeah. So it wouldn't stop. So what I did was I came back here and I just turned this one down because I wanted to see, is it going to make any difference? So I turned this down to like 390, plugged the thing back in, and it didn't charge at all. So I'm like, okay, cool. So put it back up to about 391 and then went out and drove the Jeep around a little bit, knocked that surface charge off, came back, and it started charging again. But again, it went up above what I had set here. Now, then I loaded up my charge profile that I had set for the Ranger, which worked fine. And in the Ranger, I had several sections enabled. I guess you'd call it enabled. So I just kind of mimicked what I had there. So this first section, I've got it set at 391 volts. Once it hits 391 volts, then go to the next phase. And then once you're at the second phase, charge at about 10 amps charge at about 10 amps. Well, I need to fix that because that's the same. Anyway, and then once you get to the finals, once you get there, then go to a half of a amp and then do that until you get to 393 and then stop. Now, I haven't confirmed that it's going to actually stop at 393, but I can confirm that it will turn itself down. It'll turn its voltage down. It'll turn the amperage down to like half an amp once it gets to this 391 value. So what I need to do is I need to change this value to 392, and then go up here and save file, save it as Jeep, Yes. And then send to the NLG. And there it sends to the NLG. Yeah. And now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I've got the J1772s plugged in, so whenever I disconnect this, I just heard the charger start again. It's not charging at full because sorry, hold on. I can't do two things at once. It's not charging full power, so the fans aren't on. So right now you can see what the hell is this? So this is showing that I've got a battery pack voltage of 391, basically 391, and down here it's charging. Battery current is 1 amp. So I assume that it's just going to do this 1 amp thing until it gets to 393, and then it'll stop. But I don't know. The problem with this is it's charging so damn slow that it'll take about a month to get to 393. So what do I need to do? I don't know. I need to figure out a way to test this thing's not going to overcharge my battery. Maybe get rid of that third section anyway. At any rate, so now it's just a matter of testing this thing, charge the battery, go drive it around the yard a little bit, take the surface charge up, bring it on back in, charge it up again, see what happens, and then eventually get to a point where this thing stops charging altogether. Something else that I did over here on my on the Orion, I went into the battery profile and I said turn on the fault status when both charge and ready power are both on. Well, I turned that off because in the winter I want to be able to come out to this thing when it's plugged in and come up here and turn the heater on. And I got to turn the key on to turn the heater on. Of course, when I do that, it sends out a fault because if I turn the heater on, the heater pulls more power than the charger can put in. So the BMS pulls a fault saying that, hey, I think you're driving the car or you're doing something because we're supposed to be in charge mode here, and here you are drawing more power out than you have coming in. That's really bad. So that's like a critical fault. So the BMS. So I need to figure out how to make it not do that. I may have to get with Orion themselves and ask them if there's a setting that I can do. Basically all this stuff I'm doing is more and more I'm cutting the BMS out of the loop. So at the moment, what's going to end up happening is the only thing that the BMS does is balances the cells when they're charged. So, that's all right. That's kind of what I wanted to do anyway. I should probably put in a relay so that it can shut the charge off completely if something does go wrong. So it'll be my last defense against something going wrong with the charger or something. If for example this 393 thing, if the charger doesn't stop charging at 393 and it just half amp trickle charges like through the night, if it gets to 400 volts or something, I want this thing to just stop. But yeah, anyway, so that's what we're doing now. So that's going to be my day, going back and forth trying to figure this stuff out. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.